Okay, and looks like we're live. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. All right, so what I wanted to show you guys, if I can get to it. I'm gonna pull this up on a couple windows because I want to show you guys it in the two different windows. But so right here, this is something really cool I want to show you. One, this is all using DOM manipulation to do all this. So on here you can edit and just bring us up in an edit box, and I can say change it to Steve, and it changes it, or I could delete it. And then I can also add entries, and it says name, and it puts in those default values. I can hit cancel, and it gets rid of it, or I can save it, and it saves like that because it's the default values are. So that's all with DOM manipulation. But also, so it's like this is like pretend like this is a card, okay? And so what is the capital of Montana? You click on it, and it flips it. Oh, Helena is the capital of Montana. So that's just kind of what I want to show you just guys really quickly before I go into the code of it. And if you guys have any questions as we're going, just let me know.
Yeah, could you run through that? Do the card flip again? Sorry, I didn't see it. I wasn't on the screen.
Yeah. So he just clicks on it, and it flips it from the question to the answer and back and forth.
Oh, that's cool. Sweet.
And I mean, obviously there's a little bit of CS in there, but the CSS is changing by DOM manipulation.
Right, you're just doing the transition, I guess, and the transformation there to the animation, but everything else you're controlling it with the DOM, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's what that is. And same with this, too, because this is a table, as you guys can see, and it's changing it through the DOM manipulation. Because with the DOM manipulation, because we've talked about how DOM is that whole tree, how everything's organized. Well, you can change the organization. You can add things. You can take things away, and you can change things. So that's why I wanted to show you guys with this is because you can see the code as it changes. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click this edit button. Okay. So the edit button is going to start this function, okay? So it's going to set this var ul, because I originally was going to do this in an unordered list, but I decided to do it in a table. And so it's going to get this, and it's each button, each row has an ID, and it's set to do with the ID. Anyway, sorry. So this, you know how when you want to go get like a information from a inputs, you know how you use the document get element by ID will throw, and then usually you do the dot value at the end, right? Well, this right here is actually the get element by ID is actually used for DOM manipulation. The dot value just means go grab the value that's inside there. But if you don't do the dot value, you just get element by ID and then row, and that's the ID. I have these rows with IDs with the numbers. And so it's actually going to go and it's going to get that table row. That the element table row is now in the unordered list. And so as we step through, now it's going to get the information. So it's saying that unordered list, and then you have this child nodes thing. So what the child's node is when you're wanting to reference child nodes, so anything that's a child of that element, in this case the table row. So if we look at here, if we look at my thing, we have the table row. We have all these table data tags, but also the white space that's in between these table rows, these table datas, are considered nodes as well. They're considered text nodes, so that it can display it in here properly. But so those blanks, white spaces are considered text nodes. So when you say in here, when it's saying child's nodes, it's referring to the child's, any of the childs of this element. And so when you use child nodes, it works like an array. You can't use any of the array special functions that you can do arrays with, but as far as saying which one you want, it works as an array. So saying child node 3, which is really the fourth one because arrays start with 0. So it's really looking for the fourth child. So this is the element that it's grabbed. So this white space, this enter, is the first child. This table data is the second child. The white space here is the third child. And then this is the fourth child. Okay? So it's looking at this Mario one right here.
So just a quick question, Jesus, is this what we were talking about earlier?
You said you had a question?
Yeah.
Okay, what was your question?
So, Jesus, was this what we were talking about earlier with Brandon? Would this fix his problem?
Right. That could help fix his problem, but actually he was having problems actually with the positioning of some elements, for what I understood.
It was in the paragraph, not inside the...
Yeah, but actually they have they cannot deal with the same thing because he was dealing with DOM manipulation and some of the structures like the childs and the parents. So yeah, they are related to the things we were talking earlier.
Okay.
What were you guys talking about earlier?
Brandon had an example where he was adding, I think he was adding divs with the add child, I think, function, and then he wanted to be able to pick one of those divs and actually delete it and remove it totally from the tree structure from the DOM.
You can do that. I'll actually show you how to do that in this demonstration.
Okay, so this will be recorded, and Brandon can also reference this because he was struggling actually picking the right node to delete it, or actually he was getting an error of some nature like that.
Okay, yeah. So I'll go over that.
Cool.
Okay, so right here, this is selecting that table data. This child nodes 3 is selecting the table data where the Mario is at. So I'm doing dot and then another child's node because I'm stepping down on another child, and there's only one child of that, and that's the text node of Mario. And so that's what the 0 is. So that's just the first text node, which is the text node Mario, and then it went instead of doing dot value, you have to do dot node value to get that because you're stepping down from you're doing the child nodes. So once you start stepping down child nodes or parent nodes away from the original element, you have to use node value instead of dot value. Okay.
Okay,
So,
that answers one of my questions that I had a couple days ago. So thank you.
I'm glad I'm answering questions. So as you can see, now name is Mario, and it's doing the same thing with getting the. This is the next. Getting the other information. It's doing the same thing, but it's just selecting it through the different table datas. Okay. So now in here, these next things are what it's going to be doing. is it's going to be creating document.create element. Okay? And so what it's doing is it's creating inputs because if you remember, not that, this one. Because if you remember, when I hit edit, it's creating these inputs. So now I'm creating those inputs with document.create element, and I'm storing it in input 1, 2, and 3. And then this right here is making a string where it's, here, let me just step down into it. Okay, so it's creating this update 1 because what I'm wanting to do, again, when I switch over to here, assuming my thing doesn't slow down. Okay, so when I hit edit, it's changing these buttons to update and cancel. So it's getting ready to change the functions that it's calling. Okay?
Okay, may I ask just one question?
Yes.
So you're creating the text boxes, and then you're assigning the values that you had previously on the, I think they were paragraph elements, right? No, rows. I mean rows from the list that you created from the table, actually.
Sorry, what are you asking?
So you are taking the value from the road or from the data node on your table and putting it into a text field, right?
Yeah, so this is getting ready to create the text field. This is what this is doing right here, because right now it's replace info. This is a function I've created that it's just going to, instead of having to redo it for each one, I kind of made a module function.
Okay.
So it's going to step down into this. So what it's going to do is it's doing, okay, this child node, and then this child is 3 because it's taking this one, this parameter, so 3. So that table data, okay, and I'm going to do replace child. So that Mario, that text node where Mario is, I'm going to replace it. So the first thing is saying, what am I replacing it with? I'm replacing it with that first input. And then, so I'm replacing it with that first input. And then I'm going to say replace the first node in that, which is going to be the Mario. So it's replacing the word Mario with just a blank input. Okay. Now inside there, if you look, I'm going to step down into that. As you can see now, it's just a blank text field, right?
All right.
So this right now, I'm going to use the child nodes. Now I'm going to use the set attribute function, where I can say, okay, set attribute, type it. The first thing is the attribute you want to change, you're setting, and what you're setting it to. So I'm going to set type as text. And so now if we look over here, this table row, now we see an input, and the type is text.
Awesome.
And then I'm going to set the ID as name. And then I'm going to set the value as Mario. So if we look at here, now it says ID name and value Mario, and that is how the page is now. And so it's going to, and as you can look, it's going to change through that, and it's going to do this process 3 times for each of those fields. Now it's going to go through, and it's going to change this button It's going to change this on click. So it's going to change to this edit row. It's going to change it to update. Oh, this update that I prepared up here, updates right there. It's going to change it to that. And then it's going to change the value to update. So now this button says update, and the function it's calling is update with a one in the parameter. And it's going to do the same thing with the cancel. It's going to set it to cancel and do that.
Sweet.
Okay, so now that function's done. Now it's changed this, and as you can see, in with DOM manipulation, now that all these inputs all these have changed now to inputs to let me fill this in. So now what we can do is change it. We're going to make Mario, he makes $1 million, okay? Because he's awesome. When we hit update, there we go. Okay, so it's going to see how it has the dot value now. So now, because they're inputs, we can just get them by ID, and we're going to get those values, and we're going to hit change. Going to go to the change text function, which I made, and it's going to go grab that row again. Now it's going to create the text nodes with the things that we've gotten from the inputs, and create those text nodes. And then it's going to go replace the inputs with those text nodes. And then it's going to get ready to change the function buttons again. Now it's changed the buttons. Okay, so very similar to this one. Okay, and when we do the when we get to this right here, when we do cancel, it does the same thing, except for it just, when it's in the cancel, it's ready in the button itself are the parameters to change it back to. Okay. Now I'm going to show you guys the delete. So first, it gets the row that you're trying to delete, and then it's going to use a while loop. And so what this is saying is, while there is a first child, so essentially what it's saying, as long as there's a child, it's going to do this loop. And then it's going to do UL, which is the row, and it's going to do remove child, and then it's going to do remove first child. So in this row, it's going to go through, and it's just going to delete a child. And as you saw, that the ID went away, it's moving over one. And because there's still a child, it's going to keep doing this as I keep just going through the while until the loop is deleted. And so now the table row, the table still exists, but now there's nothing in it. So now we can't use remove child from to delete itself. So what we have to do is refer to itself and then say parent node. So now we're talking about the T body tag, because if we look at this T body tag is the parent of this child. Okay. So now it's referring to that. And so it's remove child, and it's referring to the UL, which is that row. So now it's going to remove that row from the DOM tree. So now that row no longer exists. It's not just hiding away. It does not exist on the page. All right, you guys still there?
Yes, I'm still here. I'm watching still.
Okay.
It is very interesting. I like your example because it's clearing out a lot of questions that I had on Saturday. I was playing with a lot of stuff, I was even playing with next siblings and previous siblings to do some stuff on my code that I end up dropping because they didn't work out very well. But this is clearing out a lot of questions that I had.
Okay. I'm glad. So now I'm going to do this add new entry. And it's what it's going to do. Okay. It's going to call this row function, this insert row. Okay, so now what it's going to do is it's grabbing the table because the table has an ID. And it's going to create text node. And it's going to add it to there, so to add a space. And then what it's going to do, it's going to use a loop for every time for the length of what it's doing is it's going to count, go through every child node, every grandchild of the table. So every table row, it's going to look for every table row and every space in there. And what's going to do is it's going to look for this type, which is an element. So it's going to skip text nodes. And so it's going to count. And so the only other things that aren't text rows are just table rows. So it's going to count how many how many rows are on the table. Okay, now it's counted that there's three rows, which 1, 2, 3. And then it's going to create an element. It's going to create a table row. Okay, and then it's going to add it to the table. And then it's going to set the attribute of that last child, which is that table row, and it's going to set it to the ID of count, which is kind of bad because I didn't do this for very good coding practice, just because I just wanted to show you guys. There's already a ID of 3, so this might break it, but and it's going to go through and it's going to create all these blank notes and table data notes to it. And then this loop was to create blank text node and then a table data, because that's how I have this thing set up. And then it's going to set this, and it's not doing a very good job because I deleted a row and it wasn't supposed to be able to handle that. So I'm just going to get back to where I was. Okay, so it's getting ready. It's creating and appending all these table datas for the new row. And if you look, even though there's no values in it, we're starting to create these table datas. Okay, and we're doing it. Okay, so now it's going to create. So it's going to create an IDU text. Now it's creating the text notes to fill it in. and then it's going to create the input buttons. Now it's going to add them into the table data. As you can look over here, now it's putting them in. Now, because we don't want it just like this, so now it's just going to call the function to edit row to change these. That first function I showed you to change them into the inputs. And instead of changing it to update, it's going to come back to here. It's going to change it to the save and the cancel, which in this case, the cancel actually is just delete, since it's just going to cancel making the new row. And then save, it saves the new row.
Okay.
Okay. So that's all that we have with this one. And we can save it. Save it. So what this one's going to do is when you click on it, it's going to grab the card div, because it's a div called card. It's going to grab that div, and the first thing it's going to do is, because the div has an on-click, so let's do that, and let's expand this. So this div has an on-click, flip, and then it's going to change the flip to back, is what this is saying. And so we're going to change that. Well, sorry. Yeah. Currency flip. Oh, sorry. So what it's going to do is it's going to prepare to change that function. So with this card.getAttribute class, so what it's saying is, currently, if we look at it, the class of this card is front. So it's going to go get that. And it's going to change it to the front. And then now I see how it's changed it to flip front so that it can replace it.
So Evan, can I interrupt a little bit? So you're changing the class so you can interact with CSS, or
I will be changing the class. I haven't yet though. This is just getting the class name to change the function.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what it's saying is now set the attribute. Now it's changing the function. Oh no, it's not what I wanted to do. I want to do this one. So now what's going to do is just change the function. So instead of saying back, it's going to say flip to the front. But this function still needs to continue. So now it's saying if the side, which was the parameter that we sent in, so the side equals back in this case. So if side equals back, then we're going to change the text. We're going to create a text node called Helena. If else, it's going to change it to what is the capital of Montana. I'm sorry, it's going to create the text node. So because it's back, it's going to create a text node called Helena. So now in this instance, card set attribute. So we're going to say set attribute. We're going to say the class and which side, if we remember, side is back. So now we are, in this function, we're changing the class to back, which flips the card. Okay? And so then what this is it's a set timeout function. So what this is doing is it's saying, and if we look at here, we're going to delay this function this function right here. We're going to delay this by 250 milliseconds. That's what this is right here. So we're going to delay it 250 milliseconds, but after 250 milliseconds, this is what it's going to do. It's going to replace the child, which is the words in there. It's going to replace it with the text node that we had. And then if side equals back, then we're also going to be changing so we're going to say if child equals back, then we're also going to take this class that the word is on, and we're also going to set it to the class of back, or else we're going to just remove the set the class to null. So what that allows it to do so now we've replaced the words with Helena. So now what it's going to do, it's going to evaluate if it's back. So then changing the class will also flip it. So now the word, because normally when you flip something, it flips the words too. And so with the style, I have this back, and it rotates it 180 degrees. So if we give this this P or this paragraph tag, if it's on the back of the card, it's going to also give this a back class, which is going to rotate it another 180 degrees. But the transition of 1 second only applies to this div. So the transformation to this Helena is instant.
So you are doing the delayed, so the transition or the transformation can be seen, right, for the flipping?
The delayed is because if we got rid of the delay, the words change instantly.
Oh, okay,
and so
okay.
then the reason why I delayed it 150 seconds is because you would see the word Helena before the card even completely flipped.
Okay, okay. It would be instant. It would like be appearing just like instantly.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be appear. You could see Helena like as soon as you click, you see Helena, instead of you seen. So when I say the word Helena, so it's like Helena, it's already flipped, and so when you with the 250, you can't see. I've changed it so that it changes the words when the card is sideways and you can't see it.
Right. You're doing just a smooth transition there instead of just having it like instantly appearing.
Yeah. So the transition's 1 second for it to flip, but then the word changes. The whole thing that the thing is doing is it's changing the word while it's flipping.
Okay.
And so then it changes it at the point when you are not noticing where the change actually is.
So you're creating these actions on click or hover?
It's on click. So when I click it, it's using DOM manipulation to change the class of the card.
Okay.
So
And
so if
then
we look,
you're using the
so
CSS, right?
I'm using CSS, the transition. So here, let me show you real quick. I'm even going to
Okay.
take off this break. So then when we flip it, all right. Okay. Okay. So and you can see it on here. You can actually see the delay in here.
Right.
So when I click, look at this right here, the function, the class, and this class right here for the paragraph. So when I click, that's DOM manipulation doing that.
Oh, okay. Okay, makes sense. And actually, it's changing down here and up here once you
Yeah.
click. Okay.
And so when you change a class, transitions, um, they still affect it. So like so the transition, so this div has a transition. So whenever this div makes a change, um, it will take 1 second to make the change.
Right. Right. Okay, makes sense. Actually, I think this thing changing classes is very useful, especially when working with your CSS properties.
Yeah. So like here, let me see if I can pull it up really quick. And, like, I'm trying to see if I can get my CRT through. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to show you because I'm trying to show you guys something that you can do.
And actually, I like the example that you're showing because it's gonna help us a lot with the app that we are trying and that we are thinking on developing.
Here we go. I think. Oh man. I just remembered it's a PHP file. Never mind. I can't show you because I can't get my Jamp's not working. But this is like I had another example I could have shown you, but it's not. I can't show you right now. But yeah, changing classes is really helpful. Alrighty. I guess. Do you have any other questions?
Not really. It is a really good example. I would say my comments would be it's a really good example for using DOM and the properties of the elements and classes to interact with CSS and to do a lot of changes on the properties. Actually, you clarify a lot of questions that I had that I was out actually going out and searching out in the internet. So, so I think I'm gonna look at your example closer. Though you have explained it very good, just going step by step with the Chrome tools that are there for debugging. So, so I want to look at that example closer.
Alrighty. Well, I think this video is gonna be long enough, so I think I'm gonna end it though.
Okay, perfect, perfect, and thank you very much. It is a really good example.
Thank you. All right. Well, we'll see you guys. See you later.
See ya.